Thank you so much for coming. It means a lot to me that you're here, and this is my experience. I'm a seer. I spoke about that yesterday. I produce higher amounts of DMT, so I have visions. And basically in 2021, I was contacted by Vice to do a show about Earth, about Hollow Earth. And they wanted they really wanted my family on the show, and they wanted to capture that. And my father's a Sicilian. He owns a bakery, Golosso Breads, he started, and he was like, absolutely not, because they really wanted, information about how people that believe in this stuff, their family being against it, and then the conflicts that arise and the struggles that happen with that. So my family said no, but I referred them to someone who I think is amazing. He actually has a YouTube channel, Exertus, Xirtus. Look into him. It's a gift that keeps on giving. He's amazing. He actually worked for NASA when he was younger, and he focused on nanotechnology. And his father worked for Lockheed, and his grandfather worked for Lockheed. And he's really good at taking advanced information and making it digestible. So I was like, he's perfect, and we really focused on Tartaria and stuff like that. So I referred them to Andreas, and they loved him, of course. And the producers, they reached out to me and said, hey, we really want you to remote view a location. And so at the time, I'm dating this guy who's absolutely magical. I call him Dark Star. That's literally Dark Star. He's extremely gifted. He can touch things and know and see how they work, whether it's a car engine, a toaster, a water heater, extremely advanced. I call him Gangster Edgar Casey. And he knows things. In fact, he worked for a private defense contracting firm, and has even touched a UFO, and he's brilliant. And so I'm dating this guy who was able to tell me things about myself I never uttered to a soul, and just extremely advanced and psychic. So with him, he really was like, Julia, when you remote view, you don't ask for permission? And that was kind of, I got a little defensive, like a little insulted, like, what do you mean? Why do I need permission? Like, I'm able to do these things. And I wish a shaman would have came into my life at 14 and been like, let me take you under my wings, this is what you do with this. It would have saved me a lot of time, because I ran from my gifts and abilities because it frightened me. So he's like, you really need to ask for permission. So it came time to do the show, and I needed to remote view. And so he's, laying down next to me, and he's sleeping. And I'm like, okay, I'm pressured. I got to do this, and I'm thinking, like, when I remote view, I like to get in and get out. I like to be thorough. I like to be accurate. I'm like really big on accuracy, and really picky about that. And so I was like, okay, I gotta get in there. And I think I thought it was only gonna be like a couple hours, like 2, maybe 4 hours, like what I was expecting. And so I went to begin, but then I was like, okay, hold on. I need to ask for permission. So I was like, I felt, it was almost giggly about it, like, oh, like I'd never done it before. So I was like, permission, like kind of giggly, like permission to view this, I'm asking for permission, feeling kind of awkward. And I don't know, I think I was not expecting for it to make a difference, and not understanding like there's a lot of power in this, especially when you're asking for permission. So all of a sudden, 3 plasma light orbs show up in my living room, and they're glowing. And I'm closing. Oh wait, no. Okay, so yeah, the 3 plasma light orbs show up, and they're glowing, and they go into different positions. They're glowing in colors, so I'm trying to memorize this because it's happening fast. They're glowing specific colors, but they're also like quickly going into a position and then moving really fast and then going into another position. You know when you're at ball games and they're like, keep your eye on, they'll have a ball or something on the big jumbotron, and you have to keep, you have to guess what hat it's under. It was kind of like that, like super fast, like, so I'm trying to remember what colors they're glowing and what positions they're going in, because I'm thinking symbols, like there must be a reason why they're assuming these particular positions. And then I hear this voice, and it was very, very strong. And it sounded like James Earl Jones combined with another voice that when I hear it, I'll know it. But, and it says, "You do not need permission." And I'm like, I keep doing this thing where I'm closing my eyes and like, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. I'm tripping out. What is this? But then there's a pause, like a long pause, like 2 minutes is a long time. It says, "You do not need permission. You were not selected," like drags it out. So I'm laying there, and this is where the 2 minute pause was, and I'm like, oh my God, I just got denied. Like access not granted whatsoever. And I remember kind of looking at him like, did he know this? Like I just got denied. This stupid, like I'm asking for permission and I was just shut down. But then it said, after the 2 minute long pause and me just like getting upset, it said, "You were chosen." Kind of like it sounded like the voice of Oz. So I have this brilliant, like, dark star guy next to me, and there's 3 plasma light orbs in my living room, and now there's this James Earl Jones voice speaking to me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is this, right? Yeah. I thought it was going to be like a regular reviewing session, it was going to be quick, but I was wrong. And this is just really got really interesting. So I spent the next 4 days having sessions that were unlike any other thing I've ever experienced before. And so this is a highlight of it. I've shown so much. I've compiled it into a book, but I think I chose certain things to share at this conference. So this is some of the things that occurred. So the first thing it shows me a woman, and it shows me a woman, and I'm like, who is this woman? And I hear the Queen of Heaven. And so this woman is in this like huge entryway in a mansion that's like fit for a Titan. And it had this like, it wasn't a spiral staircase, it was like a staircase that draped down. And she's elegant and powerful. And I'm like, what is she looking at? In fancy restaurants, like they have a cover and they bring out the food and they take out the cover. It looked like that, what she was looking at in the entryway, except the cover is clear. So it was like domed, and it was like it was like the earth plane, like the earth being like like the plane, and it was like, this is her passion project, and she had a really deep caring and a strong investment. She feels really deeply for this place. So what it does, how it operates, what occurs, seems to affect her, but she knows what its function is. And now, the next thing it shows me, I'm shown, like, craft. And they're showing, like, how they do it. I'm not saying there's different crafts. These are the ones I was speaking to, and they're showing me that, like, this is what they do. And it starts as, like, an embryo, and it was like, imagine a dragon, and a baby meets something young. Like, they grow. It's a sacred process for them. The way that they bond with the ship, and the way that it grows in the consciousness. So, their craft is raised, it's conscious, it's aware, and it's sacred. So it's really, okay. Okay, so the Vesica Pisces shaped Earth, that's what I say. When people are like, oh, flat Earth, round globe Earth, I'm like, no, Vesica Pisces shaped Earth. It's like I'm not going to go totally into this, but it's like a torus field. And when you open up the Earth, it is like a Vesica Pisces shape. And also 3 different fields dimensionally. So, now flash forward to Telos. It showed me a viable glowing resource, metals, like it got me down to a microscopic. Imagine being shrunken down like you're in a flying ship, but you're microscopic size, so it was really enunciating these minerals and these things beneath the earth. And it showed a glowing resource of metals that can operate or cause things to operate in between realms. Like saw a red light wire, red light component. So yeah, microscopically, like being shrunken down and flying through these and seeing these minerals. And it was like a whole nother kingdom seeing that. And some of the elements, sometimes when I view things, I'm able to know like thallium, and just know what they are. But with some of these, I wasn't aware of what they were. So that was interesting, like things that are not on the periodic table whatsoever. It showed me a portal, but underneath this particular specific ridge in Telos, and the opening came up out of nowhere, so it's not always open, but it's there. And then I'm kind of vibing high because I'm seeing the Queen of Heaven, I'm seeing everything, and I'm like, I'm being shown things in such a wild way that I'm thinking, and you hear all these things about, these ascended masters, right? Like beneath these places and love and light and crystal cities. So I'm feeling pretty confident, like I'm going to be coming across that, but I have to remain very neutral. And I've really spent a lot of time training to get my mind into theta brainwave. So you have to you're open to whatever. You try not to be biased whatsoever. Have your conscious mind. Like I really got down to doing a certain protocol that helps make that easier and facilitate that. So this is kind of where the story gets dark. I come across a lab, and when I get in there, there's a being there, and its head was like shaped, almost like heart-shaped, like it was like round right here, round right there. It was very, very thin. And it turns around, like it knew, like when I got in there, I'm like, oh, this looks like a lab, everything's very clean, it's cold, very disinfecting, like it's very, like a lab. And it turns around slowly and knows that I'm in there. And I get this, like my heart rate starts going really high. My palms get sweaty. And it was kind of like, how did she get in here? But I was like, no, it's the leader. And then it's staring at me. It knew I was there. And that fight or flight feeling, when you get when you're in danger, everything was like, I'm terrified. It's like seeing a bear or something that kind of wants to kill you or hurt you, and can definitely hurt you, is capable of it. So it took a lot of courage. So I was like, no. I'm not leaving, especially with what occurred to get to that point. Like it was so wild. So I'm like, I'm not leaving. And we had this like Mexican stare off. It felt like forever. It was like 3-4 minutes that felt like eternity. And so it's staring at me, I'm staring back, and it was like, nope, I'm not going. So what I see there was I see this man and his head is down, and he's being drained. That's 2 people, but it was just one. It was a man, and his head is down, and he has tubes of, there's a tube, and his blood is being drained. And I immediately feel what he feels. That's the thing about viewing. When you view things, you feel everything. You feel what they're thinking, you feel what they're feeling. So I'm crying, I'm choked up, and he's in stasis, but there's a few clone bats next to him, and his soul is like being drained. So I was like, well, you know, wow, they have this down to a science with the blood, the minerals, like the salt in the blood, the nutrients. Like they've been doing this for thousands of years. Like I don't even want to say thousands, a long time. Where I was like, wow. This particular soul though seemed very powerful, like someone that's connected to many. Some people are like, oh, was that Jesus? Or did they clone Jesus? It was someone that is connected and affects many. I'm not sure who that man was. So that particular soul seemed powerful and had a large bloodline and a specific powerful bloodline where the torture would affect many. So, and like the purer the soul, the better seems to be a thing. Extracting, it's how they screw into source or extract light. Like every soul has a barcode and like a fingerprint, and every flower has a center of pollen and extracting that pollen. So I'm coming across, I'm seeing these trapped souls, and I'm seeing a like soul eating extraction for fuel, which I'm really sad. I see this, I'm trying to break it up of all these things I saw, but there's beings with glowing eyes, and one of them was this female with this amazing body, but they, that was really interesting, and it seemed to have a jade mask, like a jade mask, and even the ability to have like certain lasers come out of the eyes, but that was significant. I saw many things written on the wall. Something sitting on a throne looking up towards the light. And the light appeared. It is not an opening, something comes. It's as though it materializes some force. So I witnessed this amazing thing, this spiritual practice, unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was like a sacred ritual. And it showed, like they ingest this thing that's like white. One could say it's mana, or I don't know, the fountain of youth, this magical formula that is heavily guarded. In fact, like you hear about, they uncover a lot of beings of bodies that ingested cinnabar. So it's like I feel like for thousands of years there were people that tried to emulate this formula and got it wrong, and therefore ingested it and died trying to do what I am witnessing. So they're all gathered, and they're different ages, and they're in this cave in Telos. And this has been going on for thousands of years, maybe probably longer. But they gathered in this cave and they ingested it. And there's different ages, because I was like tripping out. So I'm like, that's a 6-year-old. You know, there's a grandmother, and they're all different ages. And they're kind of going around in a circle. Sometimes they're holding hands. And but the thing is, I was in, all of a sudden this thing appears. And it's huge, bright, white light that like comes down. I don't know if you've heard about like the Mothman sightings, where it's like this big winged light being figure that comes down. It was kind of shaped like that, and it's just bright white light. And anything you've ever wanted to know about yourself, about like spiritually, like all questions answered. You know it. Like when this thing arrives, you know it. And yeah, it was like pure ecstasy. Like imagine every great feeling you've ever experienced in your life. All the great pleasures in life combined, and you amplify that on like steroids, and amplify that, and multiply that, and that was the feeling of just pure ecstasy, pure joy, and every answer you ever wanted to know. And it amplified, and it changes like something within them. There was no fear, pure bliss, no blockages, peace and love, and all of my senses were quadruple. So, you know, the thing about the metals and ingesting the substance is alchemical, and it started. We probably saw it after. So a direct communication line from ingesting something, more than one thing, several things, a mixture of multitude of compounds. It showed me a flower, a very specific part of the flower. It has a specific extraction and removal preparation process, like very advanced chemistry. And I saw a meter like they have this down, there's this spinning material and there's this advanced, some kind of technology that when you put the blood in, like it spins it, and then they do these other things that add it, but it was so advanced, it was amazing to see. So the elixir, it feels salt and beauty combined with the crystal clear clarity, like spiritual eyes, spiritual vision. You can see into a spirit world that is all around us. Like I said, it's like, imagine every good feeling you've ever had. You combine it and amplify that, and then turn that all the way up, and that's what it felt like. So, zero doubt, complete clarity, total euphoria. The light beings being held, it showed all these petroglyphs inscribed on a wall. Some beings have antlers, some are stick-like figures, and all these beings are stuck in a grid, like a force field, a grid that traps them. And it showed me light beings being held via some sort of electronic device or metals that magnetize them at the metal base of the structure. Now, about the inner Earth defense system is this invisible security field that guards it. So there's this fantastic defense system around inner Earth that I can barely fathom it. Like, it's so intricate, so advanced, and yes, it felt so divine. So imagine a clear laser wall, a force field that cannot be penetrated, and coming across that, like, how is this working? So basically, with this, imagine imagine utopia, like an inner Earth, like a real destination, a real location, and you're thriving, and these advanced beings, and they've evolved, but around that is 3 layers of hell. And I was like, wait a second, that's kind of like I kind of like that, like, I would want some pretty tough MFers, like, guarding my cap, like my sacred place. So I was like, oh, there's kind of a divine design to it, yeah, that I call them the water worshippers, the ones at the core, the ones there. They have these crystal obelisks. I told where this spring, actually, it's an obelisk, it's a quartz crystal. I saw so many of them down there. I assume they were quartz. They look like quartz. And they're like, I call them water worshippers, these beings down there. And they have these huge crystal obelisks. And it looks like this giant quartz obelisk. And they programmed the water down there with a giant crystal and like colors of the rainbow. And the way that the lighting is down there, it glows different. It completely goes different, and then the colors is vibrant. Everything is conscious, everything is alive, and even just the small of not wanting to squash or hurt certain things. So the way that you then move around down there, it's so considerate. Yeah, so they program their water, and they have that down to the science. So I was like, once you realize this place exists, and once you know the destination, and how you get there, you can arrive. And they, at one point during these days of being shown all kinds of stuff, they said conquistadors of the heart, the ones that navigate the heart, the pilots and navigators of the heart, that's how you enter. That's how you enter the past the defense system. It seems like you got to go through 3 layers of hell to get down there. And it really stressed the bridge between man and woman being broken, and the inner masculine and feminine needs to be unified, and it needs to be healed and rebuilt. So it showed me lines in an artificial way. Okay, like they want to block the pure light and hide the knowledge, and they want to hide the knowledge of wisdom. So the most simple knowledge, how to eat, what it takes for our bodies to thrive, divine sexual practices, efficient learning patterns, how to absorb skills rapidly, and sexual knowledge, programming, water, high mental and physical performance, growing nutritious food, terraforming, advanced soil, rich in resources that fulfill the plant and our bodies, true knowledge about what the stars are, how to absorb knowledge from the stars, navigating hearts, speaking telepathically, operating from pure love all the time, not just partially, divine partnerships, how they are attained, yes, they exist, what that entails, how that dynamic is, is soul homework, soul school. I always say this place is it's like an LAX, like an international airport for souls. So like what you do here matters. Where you go to next, like what is the vision, like where you're trying to go to, and and then every thought you think of here, everything you do is recorded like on a thing that can be used for eternity. So anyone who thinks that they're getting over on anyone is just lying to themselves, because and so it's a great way to live too, of like, you like everyone's watching for eternity, not just your ancestors. So so soulful, what needs to be learned and achieved within your soul, but also within your bloodline, because there are things that must be learned, healed, dealt with, like karmic debt, that must be worked off, that you may not have done, but someone in your bloodline did. How and what to teach children based off of their soul development and lesson assigned or needed. How our electrical bodies work, eating for voltage, we're in electrical bodies, understanding the system. Our bones are even physioelectric. It's always stressing the cleansing and purifying rituals and purifying the system is key. Purifying, I cannot stress that enough, of do a heavy metal detox to feel like parasitic fungus. Crystal soul technology, how to access our inner minds, connection to the ultimate ethernet. And it comes back to what they first said. It comes back to our hearts. What makes your eyes sparkle? Rebridging the bridge between man and woman, and speaking from our hearts and bringing love. So this is me driving to go film the show. Like I came across this stuff and I'm like, how am I going to go up to this show and tell them about all this dark on national television about the lab and all this wild stuff? And I just was kind of overwhelmed by it. And then I ended up doing a remote viewing session live on camera on the beach in Santa Cruz. And that ended up being completely accurate, and that's in the show. This is Santa Cruz, that's Andreas. And Brittany, she's a volcanologist. She's amazing. And that's us. And it just also a thought of 20 slots, like it gave me this scenario, kind of like a wisdom to deep think on. If you were given 20 slots to go to a place like this, or to go to a ship or another awesome destination, and you're given, there's 20 slots, and you can choose 20 people. But if they do anything that jeopardizes their ethics and code, you guys all have to go. So if you were recruited to go to a great place like Inner Earth or ship, and they have 20 slots, and you can choose anyone you want, but if anyone that you chose does anything contrary to the ethical codes, that you all have to be removed, which makes you choose wisely. Okay, Alan.
Yes.
How do I get to the next one? Now, I'm shifting. Okay, this part's about cerebral spinal fluid. It's quick. So I remote viewed a place in Romania. Okay, wait, first off, this is unlocking the mysteries of cerebral spinal fluid, your gateway to consciousness. The soul swims in the cerebral spinal fluid. Dr. Randolph Stone said that. He's the inventor of polarity therapy. Fluids come together and the IM appears. What's the next one? So, I remote viewed a place in Romania that changed my life. I'm so thankful for the target. So, it had this ancient crystalline technology that could access you and show you who you are. It could show your past, where you came from, who your ancestors are, things that they experienced, and then probable futures. So I'm mind blown at this place that, first of all, I guess not everyone's able to enter. Like, you can't be, how do they say, body snatched. You can't be body snatched, like something literally kill you when you enter this place. I don't understand how it's able to kill you, like in my neck, I don't know, I just know that it can. So, of course, my response to this is like, what, how am I reading this? And when I ask that, it shows me this clear, thick liquid that going up the spine. And I was like, oh, wow. So that was a whole other session. But it caused me to look in the cerebral spinal fluid, which is absolutely mind-blowing, and it's in all of us. And so it's clear, it's colorless, it's found in the brain, it's found in the spinal cord. It's primarily water, along with the small amounts of electrolytes, glucose, proteins, and other substances, and it acts as a cushion or a buffer for the brain, providing basic mechanical and immunological protection to the brain inside the skull. It serves as a vital function in cerebral autoregulation of cerebral blood flow. The photoreceptor cells, there's photoreceptor cells in it, and the dendritic structures of photoreceptor cells in the developing retina and the pineal organ resemble those of cerebral spinal fluid contacting neurons. So the cerebral spinal fluid contacting neurons have been suggested to function as deep brain photoreceptors. So it stores light and energy and current from our soul and spirit, transports nutrients, hormones, it regulates our circadian rhythms, our appetite, instructs stem cells, it can transmit light, vibrations, movement, and molecules. It circulates around the central nervous system, and it stores light and energy current from our soul and spirit. So yes, it bathes and protects, and it communicates with the brain, and it instructs it what to do. It regulates how neurons are formed in the brain and receives a filtered, light-coded information from the thalamus. That blew my mind. And our cerebral spinal fluid is only one molecule different from seawater. Every single neural stem cell, which are the cells that will develop into neurons that create our entire central nervous system, come into contact with our CSF as it develops. So it informs each and every one as to how to develop. And the inner seawater not only patterns your whole central nervous system, it also bathes your brain in neurochemicals and electricity. In a 24-hour period, you will produce 450 to 600 milliliters of it. And since you were 28 days, since you were a 28-day-old embryo, the outline of what will be your nervous system, brain, and spinal cord were already formed and bathed by this. So it creates spontaneous states of being, states of consciousness that arise not through mental thoughts, but through the wisdom of a light that is conducted by water. Amrita. Some say, the amrita is the cerebral spinal fluid, or that's what I'm saying. It was used to describe a drink known as soma. It says that, legend says that soma was given to the gods, making them immortal. The other meaning of amrita refers to the nectar of immortality that is said to flow through our pituitary gland back into the back of the throat during the deeper stages of meditation produced by the body itself. When you reach a state in meditation where your amrita flows, it is said that you have achieved to reach a higher state of self-awareness and a deep sense of consciousness. And reaching amrita is said to turn our bodies into divine body. the final destination, turning us into perfect things. Yeah. So tying this kind of with the inner earthing of what they're making down there and what they're using it for, I was like, perhaps it's both, you know. It is the nectar that flows through our pituitary gland and the gods ingest it. So, he said, Amrita, the liquid of immortality is like nectar. It exudes from the Chandra center in the center of the head, deep behind the eyebrows. Who swallows this clear liquor dripping from the brain into the heart and obtained by means of meditation become free from disease and tender in the body like the stalk of a lotus and will live a very long life. Now I dove really hard into the heart because it blew my mind and things I was shown about the heart. I always thought the heart, the bloodstream, was just a steady stream, like just a steady flow, like a river. You know, you think bloodstream, you think blood going through it. Wrong. It's actually in the heart, it's not a steady bloodstream. It's two streams on their own spinning on their own individual axis around a third ventricle, so it just like the DNA spiral. You have these two streams streaming up. Now so the heart also is not a pump, it's a myocardial band. Thank you. It's a myocardial band, and it's like a sponge, because we're taught, like, it's a pump. And the field that it emits is, I think, 10 times stronger than the brain, the electromagnetic field. But the way that and there's 3 chambers in the heart, taking me back to the Vesica Pisces, like the 3. Anyway, so what else flows like that? Our cerebral spinal fluid. It has 2 individual axes spinning around a third ventricle. And which also is fascinating too, if when you really look into living water, I believe that we used to have access to the healing inner earth waters, these ancient aqueducts, the viaducts, you hear about these healing places like Lourdes, France. They tried to get it, the Vatican, to show how many healings from their water, of how many people they've healed from around the world with those waters, and they didn't want to give it to them. But there's all these healing water places around the world, and everything I've shown and the star forts I've remote viewed, everything comes back. And then the water worshippers, the core of it, the water is so important, and we've been cut off from those healing waters. And I speak about Tartaria, and if any of you know anything about Tartaria, it shows that these cathedrals, they weren't these places of worship. They used organ and light and sound to heal you, with sound and light, and then healing waters. It's like it programs your cells, it makes you to thrive. And those ways have been forgotten, but the way you make living water is you spin it in a certain way. You should really look into the living water systems and ingesting it. It's profound on your health. Okay, so, oh my God, look what CFS does. It's piezoelectric, just like a crystal, meaning you can activate its flow of energy and release with light through specific practices. It flows in a double helix, like I said, 2 around a central channel. It doesn't just flow through your spinal column in these 3 rivers, it actually spirals through them. The German word for spinal column is spiral column, and the German word for vertebra is vortices. It's 1 molecule different than seawater, and vortexes act as portals of energy transference, as water is the mediator between physicality and the 0-point energy of the quantum field. And these vertebral vortices along your spine also structure your cerebral spinal fluid, making it a more conductive liquid. So how is this reading it? How was this machine, this ancient crystalline machine, reading me? If you're able to read your spinal fluid, and it's okay, biophotonically. Okay, I believe that's the future too, medicine, biophotonics. But what is biophotonics? It's emission, the spontaneous emission of ultra-weak light emanating from all living systems, including man. The emission is linked to the endogenous production of excited states within the living system, the detection and characterization of human biophoton emission, has led to suggestions that it has potential, obviously, future applications in medicine. No more of this like petroleum pharmaceutical stuff. What have we been thinking? So yeah, it's biophotons. In simpler terms, our bodies emit a type of light called biophotons, and they're very weak particles of light that are not visible to the naked eye, but can be detected with special instruments. The eye itself emits light when exposed to ambient photons, and this light emission has been linked to brain activity and visual perception. They're not just random emissions. They play a role in communication between cells and living organisms. They allow for faster transfer of energy and information compared to chemical processes. Different colors of light, and you hear about, these meds at some of these places that field by looking at certain lights, can stimulate different colors of light can stimulate biophoton activity in nerve cells, suggesting that light can be used as a form of neural communication. Taking it back to when I was in my living room, and as the light orbs are changing different colors and going to different positions, it was probably like calibrating me. But I thought it was like some crazy, like, symbolic message. Even at the molecular level, DNA has been found to emit biophotons. It is believed that DNA relies on these particles of light for its stability and functioning. So overall, biophotons are non-thermal particles of light produced within our bodies as a result of energy, metabolism, biochemical reactions, and they serve as communication between cells and play, obviously, a really important role. So, power of intention. Intention affects photons. I also recommend rhodiola. Take rhodiola drops. It affects your photons as well. Direct intention manifests as electric and magnetic energy producing. So, intentions seem to operate as highly coherent frequencies capable of changing the molecular structure of matter. And you hear about these spontaneous cures of remote healing, and extremely ill patients represent instances of exceedingly great intention to control diseases. The intention to heal, as well as the beliefs of the sick person on the efficacy of the healing, influencing, promotes this healing. So what is the good news? I was able to do this in my living room. The good news is like this ancient crystalline technology exists inside of us, inside of our bodies. And that, to me, is profound, because you could do it anywhere in the world. So what do I recommend? Of course, the same thing they always tell me, which is really strong, aggressively guided on the purifying. You hear about the Essenes, the Judaism mystics that even before they prayed, like they were very big on before they prayed, and just cleansing constantly and going into certain waters before prayer and meditation, and it really makes a difference. So I recommend a heavy metal detox, a parasite cleanse, a liver flush, meditation, a daily meditation practice where you get the messages that it's going to speak to you in ways that you're going to understand. I highly recommend looking into structured water. Breathwork practices. Researchers have found that participants experience a 16 to 28% increase in the power and velocity of the CSF flow during like yogic breathing. It really helps. Which for me, I'm kind of resistant to the deep breathing exercises, because when I get into the theta brainwaves and I go into the deeper meditation, it's like I'm not breathing. So I've trained myself to do this, and I have the most profound results of this really shallow breathing. I get my brain into theta brainwaves and I go to it, but the breathing's like non-existent, so I have to really work at these deep breath things because it goes opposite of what I get profound results from. So that kind of sounds like an oxymoron, because I just recommended deep breathing, but then I just told you that I actually have profound results by not really. And then speaking your intentions into water, like it really makes a difference. Eating as clean as you can, try not to ingest mucus creating foods, and but like really cleansing and purifying. So that is my talk. I know it's like I just dumped a lot of info, and I'm just trying to go through it fast and everything. Is there any questions?
Have you ever done isolation?
No, I haven't. No, I've never done an isolation tank.
I get into the same issue with breathing that you were talking about. I get into this stuff and out on so many years, and then all of a sudden it's like, and you stop and realize, damn, how long have I not been breathing for?
Right? That's profound. You had a question? Oh, my book's almost finished. And there's a lot of information because it was so many days. And then I really wanted to add in the crystalline tech results into that as well. And yeah, so my book should be out by January. And I'm going to put it on my website. My website's Julia Kamman. I dropped my last name because I was like, I don't want to come out with this, you know, like I wasn't, a half of my heart is like, dude, just keep doing what you're doing, nobody's know, like you're okay, you know, the other half of my heart's like, people can benefit, you can help people, Julia, get out there, what are you scared of? So I feel like this is me like an eternal, you know, peeking my head out, like, should I, like, this is me testing, like, sticking my foot in the water, like, do I want to come out and talk about this stuff? So, yeah, I think that's why I lagged on the book. Any other questions?
You used the term, like, telos?
Yes, telos.
Sometimes pronounced telos.
Yeah.
Is this the civilization out of Shasta?
Well, I came across, I mean, I ended up going down deep within there, but it wasn't in Telos that I went to. But the Telos I went to was like more of the upper areas that were dark, like it was dark, and it was like in levels. There were several floors of like this underground lab. So I don't know if it was like overtaken or if it was always like that. But yeah, that's what I came across there. And then somebody had told me, I spoke at a conference in Mount Shasta, and somebody had told me like, oh, well, the government overtook some like spots there. Like somebody that lived in Shasta was like, oh, you're coming across like these bases that are there. So that's what I saw. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I could do something for you.